Well, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. Today, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about why social media matters to your organization and how you can really use social media to help increase your marketing muscle, to help you grow your organization, and really move the needle in trying to get membership and communicate to your members. This is a very open forum. I'll be going through these slides, but if you have questions, please feel free to type them into the chat and I'll answer them as we go. So what we'd like to discuss today is really, what is social media today? What is it used for? How is it changing? What steps you need to take to get started, as well as just some, ideas of time requirements to meet your goals, as well as what tools are available, and really just where you can find additional help if it's necessary. So first off, what is social media? Well, some people think of social media as Facebook, as Twitter, as something their grandkids or kids use, but really, social media is a bunch of different things. It can be blogs, it can be pictures that you share out, it can be various internet forums where you might go to ask questions. I'm sure everyone has used Dell or Apple or Lenovo's forums to ask technical questions. Well, all of those things are social media. It's not just about posting to Facebook or, updating your status on Twitter or pinning a recipe on Pinterest. It really can do a lot of things, and it can really help you grow your organization and communicate out to your members the different things that you're trying to achieve. Now, really, the question then becomes, where is social media? Well, as you can see by this infographic, it's everywhere. And to a lot of people, this can be very daunting and very confusing, because where do you start? What tools do you use? Where would your audience be? And how do you move forward when you have all of these different choices? It's not an easy question, and that's for sure. So really, I like to try to boil it down into something I love, which is cupcakes. and this is kind of silly, but it really kind of helps you understand what each of the major social media outlets are used for. So I love cupcakes, so I talk about this as far as cupcakes. So Facebook, it's really all about telling people that you like cupcakes. This is what my cupcakes are doing today. When you're talking about Twitter, it's really, I'm eating hashtag cupcakes. and hashtags are just a way to form conversations on Twitter. And, if anyone spent any time on Twitter, you can certainly see that the streams go very fast. And hashtags are just another way to zoom in on that conversation about cupcakes. I'm sure we've all had a little bit of experience, at least with Pinterest. To me, Pinterest is one of the most growing ways, one of the most growing social media outlets today. And it really is a great place to share what's happening with your organization, what events you've had, and just really connecting with your members in a very meaningful way. So with Pinterest, it's all about sharing my favorite cupcake recipe. LinkedIn, it's really about sharing your experience eating cupcakes, right? So LinkedIn is a great forum for connecting members in a more, I'd say, business-like way, right? So if you're really trying to talk about the goals of your organization, it's a great way to form a community using LinkedIn and talking a little bit about what your experience is. Well, Google Plus, the jury's still out on Google Plus, I think, and I like to think of it as I'm just a Google employee eating cupcakes, because really, I have a hard time seeing much more than people that are actually Google employees using Google Plus. Although I have an account, and some of the other people I do know as well, it doesn't seem to be as mature as some of the others, although it is definitely growing. YouTube, watch me eat lots of cupcakes. So YouTube is a really valuable way for you to reach your members in an interactive way. So don't discount the ability to put on YouTube videos about events that you've had. As you know, these forums and these webinars that you all hold go up on YouTube. And this is a really great piece of content to continually use in other social media outlets. So between YouTube and next WordPress, your blogging, and writing about your cupcakes, those are really your central hubs for everything that you do socially. So if you like cupcakes on Facebook, the best thing you can do is link to a story that you've written about cupcakes or a video that you've made about cupcakes. So YouTube and WordPress or blogs are really kind of the hubs for everything that you do socially. And then I put Instagram on here because really it's all about being artistic, and this is where maybe some of the younger members would be, younger folk would be, and they're really looking at Instagram, and Instagram is coming up very quickly as being a very powerful tool for reaching people in a very visual way. So, but anyone who's spent any time on Instagram knows that it's a little artsy, and so I like to put vintage filters on my cupcakes, which you see to the right here. So this is my very basic way of boiling down at least the major outlets for social media as it pertains to my love of cupcakes. So really, why is it all growing? Why is it so important? Well, it's because today we think digitally. When you think about the people that are growing up right now, the people that are in their 20s and 30s, some of them have never known life without the internet. Some of them have never known life without having a cell phone or the ability to use a handheld game. Handheld game means anything as far as whether it's Candy Crush or it's, some of the other games that you might play on your cell phones. It's crazy when you think about that this group of folks that are in their late 20s right now have never known life without a mobile phone, the internet, or a laptop. And of those, of the people that exist today, 75% of people use some form of social media. So when you think about that, that's where your members are. It's just a question of how to connect with them, and that's what we'll talk a little bit about today. And then some folks, I'd say, some folks use a little bit more text messaging. Some people are definitely gravitating towards using like Facebook Messenger and things like that, and all of that counts as text messaging. So that's yet another way to reach your audience and shouldn't be discounted. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, blogs. Really, blogs and video blogs are truly the hub of everything that you do socially. And even though today only 28% of people are actually blogging actively, it's still growing, and it's still a very meaningful way to connect with others socially. And then, of course, sending pictures on a mobile device. I think this is spiking up dramatically with the onset of, the Android phones and the iPhones. More and more people are actually adopting mobile cameras versus handheld cameras. Companies like Nikon and Canon are actually looking at completely getting rid of the small and handheld camera because people want to be able to send their photos to Facebook. They want to be able to send their photos through text messaging. They want to be able to actually send them device to device. So truly, mobile phones have disrupted a whole entire industry in the handheld camera industry. And we're going to see that grow and change rapidly. Like, for instance, the Samsung camera that just came out has something like a 14 megapixel camera. My very first digital camera was like a 1 megapixel camera. And that was probably about 15 years ago. So it's definitely growing. It's definitely disruptive. And we'll see that change as time goes on. But the reason I talk about that is because if you're having events or if you're having get-togethers or if you're just working hard late one night for your members, visually representing that in social media is such a great way to connect with your members. And you should continue to do that and think digitally as you start formulating your organization and your plans. So the question is now, what are some of the steps that you can actually take to harness the power of social media? And what I go over today is really a very high level, a high level overview of what you can do in social media. As you saw earlier, there are just so many outlets and there are just so many ways to connect that you really have to first think, what is my organizational goals? Are you trying to increase membership? Are you trying to have your members engage more in your organization and contribute more? Are you looking to broaden the reach of your organization and how many people you're actually reaching? So the best thing you can do with the first step is really align what social media you're going to use with what the goals of your organization are. So if the goal of your organization is to get your members to participate more, it's probably worthwhile to think about, okay, I have this Facebook page, or maybe you don't have a Facebook page yet. How can I get my members, who may or may not also be your friends, to come to that page and actually participate? What are some ways that you can get them to think about what they should be doing in social media? A couple of different things that you can do is look for content that might be interesting to them. So that could mean content that is about your organization, but it could also mean content about things like what I was just talking about earlier, an interesting statistic about how mobile devices are disrupting the digital camera industry. You might be able to talk about a new application that you've discovered that has made your life easier. Or you might be able to even talk about a great website, tips and tricks of the day, something that you've learned that's of value. That's the kind of content that will help your members become interested in what you have to say, and not just, we're having a get-together here, membership dues are due tomorrow, things like that. Actually trying to get them to engage. Because as people engage and as people become part of your community, they'll want to be part of your organization and actually contribute more. They'll feel like more of a member than an observer. The other part of that is, don't discount the role that your website or your web page might play into your social media strategy, because ultimately social media has two goals. The first is to build a community and to build a sense of being a part of something bigger. But then from your perspective, you have a website for a reason, and you want people to go to that website, whether it's to stay informed of upcoming events, whether it's to learn more about APCUG as an organization, or whether it's just to really understand more about your organizational goals. Don't forget that over time, you should really be driving some of that engagement back to your website. And as you can see, it then becomes this one big infrastructure of really kind of growing your organization and keeping your members involved. So just to kind of sum up, it really is all about looking at what your organizational goals are, whether it's increasing membership or getting your membership more engaged, whether it's about having events that are either virtual, such as this, or in real life, meaning you might have meetings or user group meetings that might be above and beyond what you would generally do on like a monthly basis. It can also be social happenings, which may or may not be aligned to the whole entire group. You might want to talk about something impromptu that happened. You might want to talk about meeting somebody, you were, at the grocery store and you ran into the treasurer or whatever. You can always talk about the different social happenings that are going on in your organization. And then again, don't forget that you're looking to actually, what I like to refer to as socializing information. You're not just broadcasting. You're actually wanting to get your members to look at your content, engage with it, and ask questions, share it, like it. And then, in essence, that helps you connect with your members, not only what you would do in real life, but virtually as well. So now they're coming to you when they want to engage with you. It's not just that one-way push. And the way you do that is truly, honestly, just have fun with it. Don't be afraid to post humorous content. Don't be afraid to really highlight some fun things that happen. I mean, the fact is, your members are people, and they're all dealing with families, and they're all dealing with, they might be dealing with jobs, they might be dealing with who knows what. So to offer your social media content as a way to kind of pull back from that and have a great time and connect, that's really what it's all about. So Another step that I like to do is, and this kind of reiterates that, is to post likable content. Don't just market about your organization, connect. And I always love this Stuart Smalley because it's really true. It's like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. That's really what it's all about. You want people to like your content, you want them to like you, and they want you to realize that at the other end of that page, there's a person, there's someone engaging. And some of the most interesting things you'll see come from that type of engagement. And you can't be afraid to actually look at what kind of content you might have, because really content matters. It really is the reason that social media exists today. Yeah. Yeah, Huey?
We lost your audio for a couple of seconds, but you're okay. We lost your audio for a couple of seconds, but we got it back.
Oh, okay, great.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure, must have been something with Adobe. No problem. I'm not sure where you lost me, so I'll just start from the top of that, and that's just to say, really, content matters. Content is really where your members find interest. So it really just doesn't, the interest doesn't start with just the interest in your organization. It really is about an interest in you. It's an interest about why you all come together as a group. It's not just about you all use computers or you all like the internet or you all have common interests and you all have common backgrounds and you all have common things that you want to learn more about. So the interest doesn't start and stop with your organization. It really starts with that conversation. And that conversation comes by having valuable content. How can you find some of that content? I'll go into that a little bit later, but there's lots of really great tools that you can use to listen to what's available out on the internet and learn what your members want to see. And that will help you to respond. And basically over time collaborate, because imagine if you have someone that comes onto your Facebook page and they post this great story about some issue that was discovered with some application that everyone is using. Now this conversation can start about how people had problems with this. Did people contact the company? How did people learn how to fix this problem? And now your Facebook page or your LinkedIn group or your blog has become this source of answers. And people now come to you to actually solve a problem. And the wonderful thing about social media is that now it's developed this almost like a knowledge base for your company or for your organization or for your group that you might not have had before. And am I back, Huey?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like looks like Adobe is disconnecting me for some reason. So I do apologize. I'll keep a watch out for that. Did I cut out for the whole time again or no?
No, about 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
All right, great. So as I was saying, your social media has now become this wealth of content, a wealth of information that people can actually go to as a resource. So it's not just about posting Facebook pictures. I've had this problem. Maybe I should go check the APCUG LinkedIn group for the answer. And that's basically what everybody would like their social media footprint to be. And then finally, don't be afraid to post non-technical or what I call non-branded content, right? So this is content that is not just about what your group is interested in, but it could be other things as well. It could be about tasteful jokes. It could be about playful information. It could be about, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. You could actually start then looking at each group and challenging them. And for those of you, I can't imagine there's anyone who's not familiar with this. The ALS Ice Bucket Challenge is the most successful social media campaign that I've ever seen. And what's amazing about it is it was completely grassroots. It started off as a way to build fundraising for ALS. And in the course of the last 3 weeks that this campaign has been going on, donations to ALS have increased by over 1,000%. It's amazing when you think about it. If you don't think social media matters, you have to think again. Social media done right absolutely matters. And in this particular case, ALS was not promoting ALS. They were doing something fun. They were saying, all right, either you dump this bucket of ice on your head and pay $10, or you don't and you pay $100. And people are going to call each other out to do it. And people did. And it was for a good cause. And it was for something that a lot of people didn't even know they supported, but now they do. So really, it's a question of looking at what you're trying to do and having fun with it and really trying to get that moving forward. So then really step 3 is understanding what network is right for you. I can't stress this enough. Don't feel like you need to be in all places at all times. Some people and some organizations might feel more comfortable on Facebook. Some might opt to say, really, we're all about Pinterest because that's where our members are. Some folks might say, we have this YouTube channel and we just use YouTube and then we tweet it out and we have, 500 Twitter followers and that's all we can ask for. So really, it doesn't have to be this all or nothing. Sometimes it's better to focus on one area and determine what works for you than it is to be in all places at all times. And I included this infographic because I thought it would be really beneficial for the group after this session. I'm obviously not going to read all of these points here because it's very busy, but it does talk about the main ones that I've been looking at, and I think you all see that I'm sort of narrowing in on the same 6. And that's because I feel like from the perspective of where users are today, these are really where you're going to find your members. I know based on my experience in Facebook, really Facebook and Pinterest almost work hand in hand. And that's because they're both very visual in nature. They both have a tremendous following. And really, it's truly the largest opportunity to connect with consumers, right? So that's what your members are, right? They're people that are looking to get together. They consume technology. You might not be selling them that technology, but that's who they are. So really, Facebook and Pinterest is the largest opportunities to reach those folks. And that's also where the largest number of people are. You can also see from an activity level, they're amazing. I mean, we're talking about billions of active users on Facebook, well, at least 8 billion, and 70 million on Pinterest. And for those of you who haven't spent a lot of time on Pinterest, definitely take a look. I think it's really underutilized because it gives you the ability to go all over the internet and find interesting things and simply press a button and put it on a board so that other people can actually look at that information when it is acceptable to them. That's really the ultimate in community knowledge, right? That's how you build knowledge bases, is by having people that go out and collectively find this content and get it all in one place for the benefit of the community. Twitter, I'm a big fan of Twitter, and I highly suggest after this, if y'all want to follow me, that would be great. I share a lot of social media content. I share a lot of online community content because that's what I do. I'm an online community manager. And really, Twitter is this amazingly active place where you can quickly zoom in on subject matter experts and just see what they're consuming, see what they're tweeting about, see what conversations are going on all over the world. And it really is one of the most active, second behind Facebook, as far as social media outlets, with 560 million active users every day. It's crazy when you think about it. But also Twitter gives you the ability in a very quick and easy way to share content that might live on all these other social networks. So if you have a blog, or if you have a Facebook page, or if you have something on Instagram, Twitter is a great place to actually consolidate all of that and send it out to that group of people. So it's pretty amazing. And I spend a lot of time, probably too much time, on Twitter. As far as LinkedIn is concerned, this truly is, as it is today, very business-oriented. However, I wouldn't discount it for this group as a way to actually build community. So what I mean by community is this. If anyone has spent any time on the Apple forum or CNET or any of those are in essence communities, right? People come in, they ask questions, peers answer those questions, conversations develop. It now becomes this searchable archive of content and information. LinkedIn groups can be used much the same way. And I didn't have a whole lot of time to look at this, but I assume that there are probably a few of you that have utilized LinkedIn groups and connected there. And again, LinkedIn groups is yet one more way to get the information out from all those other social areas. So definitely, if you haven't today, take a look at LinkedIn and see how their groups work, because I think that they do a lot for you. So really, when you're starting to look at what social media networks you should use and you get overwhelmed by that big infographic of how many are out there, it's really identifying what your objectives and goals are for your social media. Is it to drive web traffic? Is it to increase membership? Is it to learn more about your industry and let your members connect virtually as well as in real life? Who is your target audience? Are you looking at just your existing members, or do you really want to grow members? And how do you do that? One of my favorite social media gurus talks about how it's really not important to reach your community. It's important to reach the community of your community, because that's where your growth is. If people are already connected with you on Facebook and on Twitter or on Pinterest, they already know who you are, and they already want to know what you have to say. To grow, you want to reach their communities. And how do you do that? Through content, through making sure that you have content that they want to share, that they want to engage with, that they want to like, and they want to say, hey, everybody that I know, look what APCUG just shared out. This is amazing stuff. And that's how you reach that next level. You don't want to discount your members, of course, but really, if your goal is to grow, it's reaching your members' communities. And then really, it's, deciding what is your ideal site, and do you want to have single or multiple accounts? This really goes back to how much time you have to dedicate to this, how much you want to really put into connecting with your members, and really just what tools you want to use to kind of keep that moving forward. But really, just focus on what's the most important to your community versus what's most popular. So, there might be something out there in the news that's really, really popular right now, but if it doesn't have anything to do with your community and your members, let it go. Let it be in someone else's conversation, and try to keep your conversation about what interests your community. So today, well, not today, but this portion, I'd like to talk a little bit about what tools and what you can do to help reduce the amount of time that you spend in social media, because we all have busy lives and we all have things that we're looking to do. And as much as we all would like to sit there and tweet and Facebook and Pinterest all day, we can't. So how do we work smart instead of work hard? And that's why I tell everyone, when they look at that big infographic, just keep calm and love social media, because everything will be okay. So there are a number of tools that you can use to make your life easier. These tools can help you schedule posts. These tools can help you automate some of the process. These tools can help you narrow in on your audience and help you keep your community and keep your social media account tidy and clean. There's lots of different things you can use, but again, you want to be very careful, because if you live by automation, you will certainly die by automation, because if people don't think there's anyone at the other end, they're not going to connect with you, and they're not going to feel engaged with you. But I do want to just highlight 4 tools that I use every single day. And each one of these are free. And there's actually one more that I'll talk about to tie these all together that I didn't put on this slide, but I do talk about it on the next one. So you may or may not be aware that if you have a Facebook page or a Facebook profile, you can actually schedule when you want your posts to go out. So one of the ways that I really like to use this is if I know I have specific content I want to send out during the week on my Facebook page, what I'll do is that content will be static. I know that that's the content that I want to send out primarily because I just want to inform my users that this is what's happening. So this could be reminders of events that are coming up. This could be links to articles that you found to be interesting or engaging that you know your members would find interesting and engaging as well, but there's no time involved in them. What I like to do is I like to schedule those out. I'll go into Facebook and I'll actually use that scheduler and put those Facebook posts to post when I need them to go. And those will happen, and when those posts, I'll watch, see if anyone likes, engages, and if I see people asking questions, I'll engage with them. If I see people liking and sharing, I'll acknowledge that they liked and shared it, just so they don't feel like it was automated. But a lot of people don't use this feature, and it really is incredibly valuable. But you don't want to rely on it exclusively, because again, if everyone feels that all they're doing is seeing posts that are by a bot, they won't engage with you. A perfect example of this just happened to me just recently. So I used to be very interested in NPR. And so I'd watch the NPR. I listen to NPR every day on my way to work. So I thought, you know what I'd really like to do is I'd like to follow them on Facebook because I'd love to see this news in my newsfeed. So I would go ahead and I would see the posts happen every day at the same time, and then post like 4 or 5 things every single morning. And it started consuming my Facebook feed. And that was just not what I wanted. So I went and I unliked their page. They lost me as a member, even though I'm an active consumer of NPR. So again, you have to be very careful to not over-automate. Try and keep it simple. Try and keep it direct. The other tool that I really like to use is one called Hootsuite, and this is also free. Hootsuite is one of my favorite tools because not only does it allow you to be able to schedule posts over multiple different types of social media, so you can connect your LinkedIn, your Facebook, and your Twitter to Hootsuite, you can also see some analytics about how your content is performing. And this is all free, which is amazing to me. Now, of course, there are reports in Hootsuite that are more expensive, and you do have to pay for them, like everything else. But some of the basic things that Hootsuite does is pretty amazing. The first thing that it does is it allows you to be able to schedule posts across multiple types of media, unlimited number of posts, which is pretty great. The second thing it allows you to do is if you use if you use Mozilla or you use Chrome, you can actually get an applet that puts a little owl up in your toolbar. And if you come across anything interesting on the internet, whether it's a blog post or a news article, you click that owl, it automatically creates a status update for you, asks you which social media outlet you want to post it to, and you can either post it right now or you can schedule it. It's amazing. And again, it's free. So I highly suggest, if you're looking at taking social media seriously, go to hootsuite.com, sign up, connect your accounts, and give this a try. It's amazing. The other tool is one called Buffer. Buffer does essentially the same thing as Hootsuite, but it's a little bit more bare bones. So if you really don't care about analytics and you don't really care about, or if you don't have a large number of posts that you would make, Buffer is a great tool for this. And it's also free, and it also has an applet for Chrome and for Foxfire. So I would highly suggest, if you find Hootsuite too complicated, go look at Buffer. One more thing as far as the difference between Hootsuite and Buffer is this. Hootsuite does this really great thing that allows you to be able to monitor streams. So what that allows you to do is if you wanted to, say, follow the Facebook or you wanted to follow the Twitter stream of another membership organization or the large organization, or you wanted to follow the stream of Apple Computer or whatever, you can set up this stream in Hootsuite and you can actually follow their tweets and you can actually engage with them. And the reason I bring that up now is because on the last area here, we talk about TweetDeck. TweetDeck does the same thing, but only for Twitter. So if you decide that your whole strategy is you're going, full bore on Twitter, and you're just going to grow by thousands of users, and you're going to become a big, huge thought leader on Twitter, TweetDeck is a great tool to use for that because it does all the same things as Hootsuite, but it only pertains to Twitter. So it's very useful. So it does, again, the streams, the scheduling, and the monitoring of other Twitter streams. So these are 4 tools that I use every single day. I just find them to be incredibly valuable. They help me save time, and they really help me narrow in on that conversation. So sometimes if you go to Twitter, there are many times where it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose. You log on to that news feed, and it's just there. TweetDeck and Hootsuite will help you narrow that conversation. But again, you live by automation, you'll die by automation. So use these tools pretty sparingly. But really all it is that social media does take time if you're going to do it right. But what I did is I kind of tried to boil this down a little bit and boil the ocean so that you can understand really the time commitment per day or per week, and then really kind of work it in. If you're really looking at just listening, if you're saying, all I really want to do is know what my members are saying, what people are saying about me, you can really do that very early in the day. And one of the things that I mentioned earlier is one tool that I hadn't talked about in the previous slide, and that's Google Alerts. So I think you've noticed through this whole presentation, I've talked pretty heavily about the need for engaging content. So you're thinking to yourself, great, how do I find all that content? Well, Google has this amazing thing called Google Alerts. And what this does is if you go to Google Alerts, you can Google it, and it'll bring you right to there. You can type in things that interest you. And Google every day will go across the entire internet, find those interesting things, and deliver them in a digest to your inbox. And from there, you can click on the link, go to the article or blog, and if it's interesting, you click that little owl or that little buffer icon in your Chrome or Foxfire, and now you've just created content. And you didn't have to do anything but check your inbox, look at it, and send it out. So really, it all starts with Google Alerts. This is an amazing tool, and I can't recommend it high enough if you're truly looking at developing amazing content for your members. And actually, I shouldn't say developing, you're really looking at giving your members this content. Then if you're looking at, then really the next thing is to promote and engage, right? So you're now looking at that content that you got from Google Alerts, and now you're looking at, should I put it in LinkedIn? Should I put it in Twitter, Pinterest, Google+? Really, that's where it's like, okay, I'm going to get that content into my the right social media outlet. I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to see people engage with it. I'm going to check it. I'm going to make sure people know I'm here. And I put 20 minutes a day, but that's over the span of 24 hours, right? You could check it on your phone. You could check it on your laptop at night sitting in front of the TV. You really could do that 20 minutes at any given time. But to do it right, you're probably looking at about 20 minutes there. But to participate. And that means you're actually really creating content. You're really engaging. You're really trying to get people to become part of your community. That might take the 30 to 45 minutes. Now, that's not in addition to the others, right? So if you're promoting and engaging and sharing content, chances are you're also engaging with intent. So you could take that to mean that it could be anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes a day to do that. To create content, that's going to be a little bit longer. And what I mean by creating content is this is where you're actually looking at blogging. You're actually looking at creating video blogs. You're actually looking at trying to leverage you and your organization as a thought leader. This does take more time because now you're looking at sharing your knowledge and you're looking at becoming a content originator. Don't discount this. And this doesn't have to happen every week, right? You could say, all right, I'm going to blog twice a month. Great. Then you're probably talking about 6 hours at a minimum a month to create that blog make sure that it's everything you want it to be, and get it into the right hands. So again, that 3 to 5 hours includes creating the content, posting the content, and then everything else behind it. So to participate and engage and listen. And then finally, the last piece, and this is where I live because this is my life, is really about community building. This is about making sure you've done those other 4 things so that when you get to this stage, you know exactly what your members want. You know exactly what they want to share, and you're leveraging content and you're creating content that they want to consume. And that does take a little bit more time. So where to go for help? This is always, again, a bit of a struggle because for every social media outlet, there's an expert on that social media outlet. So you can imagine that the wealth of help that's out there is pretty big. But really, a couple of things that you can do today is really look to your social media champions that you already have. So if you have somebody that you are connected with on Facebook, whether it's your daughter, grandchild, friend, whatever, that you see is really killing it. Like you see people that are engaging with them, they constantly have tons of likes and shares, talk to them. Ask them how they do it. They might not even know, but by having that conversation with them, you'll probably learn a little bit about how they use social media naturally that could help you. The other thing is there's a ton of social media experts on Twitter, and every day they share out some of the most amazing content I have ever seen. I am by no shape what I would consider necessarily an expert. I am a student, and I learn from these folks every day. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I have a list of these social media experts, and you can feel free to follow any of them or just follow that list, and that should help you as well. But some of the ones that really stand out for me is the first one is Social Media Examiner, and it's socialmediaexaminer.com. This person has put together such an amazing wealth of information about every single social media outlet that's available. He talks about Pinterest. He talks about Facebook. He talks about LinkedIn. He'll talk about social media outlets you've never even heard of. I learn about new ones every single day, and I generally learn about them on Social Media Examiner. The other thing that he does really, really well is he actually gives ideas on how to then harness the power of social media. How do you take it to the next step? How do you use social media to drive your goals, whether you're a company, a person, or an organization? I can't recommend him high enough. It's a really amazing site. Social media today generally is a little bit more business oriented, but there's still a ton of information on there. I've actually done a couple of webinars for Social Media Today, and they're just, again, a really great wealth of information. A little bit more geared toward the business user, but that doesn't mean that there's value in general for whether it's a not-for-profit or any other type of organization. Mashable I put on here, and it's only because Mashable is a little bit different. Mashable is a website that has a bunch of different content, and it really is kind of a little bit more fun, but you can certainly find a lot of technology information there. And also Huffington Post. Huffington Post is just great because there's a ton of social media experts on there that blog every single day. So I would definitely spend some time on Huffington Post if you can. And that really kind of concludes my piece here. Hopefully you've been able to learn a little bit about why social media matters and how you can use this to grow your organization. And I hope that you follow me on Twitter.
I don't see any questions right now, Tamara. Maybe they'll have some just while I add a little bit to your presentation. On the front page of the APCUG website, apcug2.org, I have a video or a link to a video of somebody who was teaching Twitter to a senior citizen in 10 minutes. And if you haven't seen it or anybody that's online hasn't seen it, do go take a look at it. It is excellent, especially for those of you who have groups, in your groups, people who kind of resist things like Twitter, it really brings it around so that our members can understand what Twitter is. Question from Joe, what about Google Blogger? How does that fit in with anything?
That's a great question, Joe. So Google Blogger in general is the same thing as like WordPress or Weebly or any of those other blogging tools. It really is just a hub for your social media activity. So if you have, a Google Blogger account and you want to get that into the hands of the rest of your social media outlets, I highly suggest that you use those tools, because that's where your content's going to come from, especially if you want to start leveraging yourself as the expert in your area. So it kind of fits in the same place WordPress would be. It's just a blog for sure.
Okay, Anna, I'm going to type in the APCUG website, and you can get to the link from there. Alan says you mentioned a Firefox plugin with an owl. What's it called?
If you go to the Firefox store, I don't know, I use Chrome, but I know it's available in Firefox. You should be able to type in Hootsuite, and I believe it's called Hootlet is what it's called. Hootlet. I'll go ahead and type that in. And it's an amazing tool. I can't recommend it high enough. It just gives you that time-saving tool that you need when you find something interesting and you go, man, I need to share that on Facebook. You just click the owl. It creates the post for you based on the title of the article, and you can modify it and change it to put it in your own words, and you just post it. It's crazy. It's very useful.
Yeah, I use Hootsuite. I like it very much. One of the things that I do is, and you mentioned that you can pick a term and have it look for instances of that. One of the ones that I used was user groups, and it has a column that anybody types in anything to do with a user group, I see it. Yeah, some of them are in foreign languages, some of them are in other countries, but I get to see the type of groups that are out there for different software packages, different operating systems, and so on, with user groups. And it's interesting. There are a lot of groups out there, and find that Hootsuite is very nice to be able to hone in on a particular topic and have continuing information fed to it.
Alan, it is the same on Chrome. It's called Hootlet. And Huey, the same thing can be done with the Google Alerts that I talked about earlier. So one of the ways that you could really use Google Alerts to be a valuable part of your social media strategy, I guess we want to call it that, is if you have an upcoming meeting and you have a certain guest speaker that's going to be talking about a certain subject, but you want to start getting people excited about that subject and start thinking about it and prepping them and giving them some food for thought, you could actually enter in certain terms in Google Alerts. So say, for instance, you're going to be talking about, I don't know, some new version of Android. I don't know. I'm just going to put that out there. And you wanted to get more content to kind of get people thinking about that topic. You could enter that into a Google Alert, and it would go out on the internet every day and deliver into your mailbox content about that topic. And now you can start sharing that content with your members to get them excited about this topic you might have coming up in a speaker that you might have in your user group. So it's a very valuable tool for sure.